right, so we are now going to start making a collage with our prints. And remember, a collage is when an artist glues and pastes a bunch of pictures together on one piece of paper to make one whole piece of art. So we have our prints that we made the past couple of weeks. You're going to go through those prints and pick your strongest. In the beginning of class, we talked about what makes a print strong, what makes it stand out. If you have more than one print that you can somehow put on your paper and you would like to repeat a print more than once, you can. So for example, let's say I had two really good prints and I like both of them. You can put them on your paper if there's a way for you to position them on there. But all I'm looking for is one good print. I'd rather you have one really good print than three not so great prints. So if you only have one good one, just use what you have. You're going to have to decide if you want to cut around your Statue of Liberty or if you want to use the negative space as well around her. So in this one, I cut the background out before I glued her on. But on this one, I kind of like the colors I have in my background. So I might keep that background in my art. So I'm going to cut very carefully, because then you have to make sure that you cut it nicely, especially if you can't see the edge. So I'm going to go in and figure out, do I want my paper to go this way or do I want it to go this way? Where would I like to place her? Do I want to place her in the middle? Do I want to place her down on the side? So you can see with this one, I placed her right at the bottom. I kind of like, because I have the edges on this, I'm going to put her in the middle. So after you've gotten your print cut out, using glue sticks, we're going to start with the edges of the paper first. And glue sticks are just almost like ink. It dries really fast, so be kind of quick. And then I'm going to work my way in the middle. Okay, so now what we're going to do is pick two colors to use for our shape. So for mine, I think I'm just going to use yellow and orange. So I have my yellow and I have my orange. And what you're going to do in each one of these, you're going to make one shape. Okay, so for this one I did green and red, and I did hearts with the red and circles with the green. So I need to first figure out what shape I want to do with my orange paper. So I'm just thinking it really doesn't matter. I might just do a heart again because I really like the look of the heart. If you want to get more detailed with your shapes and patterns, that's fine, but remember we only have today and the following week to work on these. So sometimes what I do is I take a sheet of paper about this size and I just fold it into fourths so that when I cut these out, I get more than one at a time. So I'm going to do, like I said, hearts. So I'm going to, I don't know, I'll just draw a couple hearts. They don't all have to be the same size. So now I'm going to go around, cut them out. And again, I folded paper over to make it easier for me so that I don't have to cut one shape at a time. So I'm going to set those aside. I have my hearts done. I'm going to just set those aside and then think about the next shape I want to do. So again, I'm going to fold the paper twice to get four altogether, four folds. And then think about another shape. If you want to repeat that shape, but just in a different size, you can technically use the same shape more than once. But I like variety. I like to have more than one of something because variety makes things interesting in our art. So maybe this time, I don't know, maybe I want to do some triangles. Okay, so I have my shapes all cut out. I'm going to start to glue them on. So you're going to start with one shape first. So maybe I want to start with those hearts. If you have any pencil lines showing, add the glue to that side because we don't want any pencil lines showing when we add these onto our projects because it just looks kind of messy. So I'm going to go in and just slowly spread these hearts out. You don't want them all on one side of the page because what ends up happening is there's too much weight on one side and it's not balanced. So I kind of go back and forth between all sides. Okay, I've added my hearts. I've got the space filled up nicely. It looks pretty balanced for the most part. If you have to have your hearts overlap some of your Statue of Liberty, that's fine. Now I'm gonna go in with my second shape, and I want this shape to slightly go on top of my first shape to create some overlapping, okay? So every time you apply one of these shapes, you want them to touch some of the other shapes in some spots. Okay, so I have my glued on shapes. The space is spread out nicely and each shape overlaps, touches each other. So now I'm gonna go in and add some little details with paint, just like the artist did in his artwork, the illustrator that we learned about. So you're gonna pick 2 lines. So everything, if you notice, it's two colors, 2 shapes. So 2 lines that you're gonna do both in the negative space, the background, and in the positive space on the shapes, okay, which are coming forward. So, with my brush, I have my 2 colors. That's all you're gonna get to use, is just 2. And I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna figure out what line I wanna use for my first color. And that's the same line you'll use throughout. So maybe, I don't know, my first color, I just wanna use straight lines. The harder you push on your brush, the thicker that line will be. The lighter you push on your brush, the smaller that line will be. So I'm just gonna go in both in the background and in the positive space, the foreground, do some straight lines. Obviously the yellow won't show up on the yellow. Okay, so I have my 2 lines, so just like you did with the shapes, you want to spread those lines out. Okay, so now the last step, if you have a print like mine where maybe you want to highlight some areas or outline areas a little more, I'm going to take a black Sharpie and just kind of go over, because the paint brushes are really not thin enough to do this in our prints, but maybe I'll just go over and, you know, in areas that I want to outline, I can kind of just outline. With a thin point Sharpie, you can absolutely do that.